I just got done taking all of my elephant ear bulbs out of the pots. This is incredible. I cannot believe how many I actually came out with. I only planted a few plants. Well, you guys saw. Probably around, I'd say around 20 plants total, and now I'm left with all of these bulbs. There's probably 100 bulbs here. I mean, give or take, there has to be. There's just so many. So right now I'm just kind of rinsing them off. I don't know if you guys ever messed with elephant ear bulbs before. So when it starts to become colder out in the fall time, unless you're in like Florida, it's always hot. You just leave these in the ground, you know. Well, I live in Indiana, so I need to pull these out of the pots and the ground. I do want to add, if you grow these in pots, you will produce more bulbs. So anyways, you'll dig them up from the ground about 3 to 6 inches away from the plant so you don't break any of the bulbs. I just use my hands and some gloves to get them up so I don't cut into these with like a shovel or something. You know what I mean? After you dig them up, then you can break them off of the plant. So right there's one of the breaks. This will be where it goes in next year. This will go into the ground this way. This piece will point upwards. You can see that would be a leaf or a plant. So this is basically a whole plant right here, is one bulb. So as you can see, I have all of these. I got some pretty large ones, like look at this one. I'm excited to see some of these. I do have some of the plants still on the bulb. I'm just gonna let them dry out and die off, and then I will take it from here. But first I want it to dry out. I did see like this right here where it's like broken. This probably won't survive through the winter when I wrap this up in paper towel. It probably will rot, to be honest, because look at it already. I have a feeling it's not going to do very well, so I'm going to put this by itself. Same with this piece here, this huge chunk. I'm putting it by itself when I wrap it up, because if anything does mold over and rot, you don't want it to touch any of the other ones, because it can spread easily and just basically ruin all of your bulbs. I only had a few, maybe like 10 of these bulbs do that last year. I think you guys saw at the beginning of the summer when I pulled these out and plant them. So I'm just going through getting most of the dirt and the germs and things like that. Like there's bacteria on these. I want to try and get them down the drain. And after I've rinsed all of these really well, I'm going to lay them out in a dark room, not super humid. I want these to dry out. So I'll let them rest in there for about 2 to 3 weeks, making sure they're all dry. Once they're dry, then I will wrap them up in paper towel and store them in a bucket and put them in a dark place where they're just not able to see any sunlight, so they don't grow or anything. And obviously making sure it's a dry environment, so there's no mold or moisture, anything like that. You could store these out in your garage or shed if you do have it insulated out there. That would be a good place to store them. My shed's not insulated, so I have to store these in my house in the wintertime. But yeah, I always do this around fall where I just rip these out carefully, obviously. And it's okay if some of the roots are left on it. Just let those dry out. They'll turn really little and brown and it's fine. They'll grow new roots next year when I plant them. I think that's like the coolest thing about an elephant ear plant or bulb, whatever you want to call these. I know they have like a actual name, but that's what I call them, okay? I do also want to point out some of them I just leave grouped together like this, and I'll just leave that. If this one in the middle starts to rot, I'm gonna have to pull these apart so that those don't, but I don't know. Some of them I leave like that, some I leave with this whole like leaf on there. It doesn't really matter. Just as long as everything dries out. Alright, so I picked a spot right here. I'm just gonna actually put it on top of this tote. I am gonna close the curtains a bit more so it's pretty dark in here. And I'll just start to put them right here. And I just make sure I'm kind of spreading them out so they have pretty good room to circulate and dry out. So I'm going to go through and lightly press the top, kind of soak up some of the water that's on them. And we can let these dry out for 2 weeks. Alright, just to ensure that they are drying pretty well, I did put a fan on them on a low setting. That way it doesn't like shock them or anything crazy, but yeah, I'll just let them sit here and dry out. I won't have the fan on for the whole 2 weeks. I'm just gonna do it for a few hours right now, make sure I get most of that water out, and then I'll turn it off. And then for safety, I am gonna put paper towel over the top of them so that the sun isn't like directly on them to harm them or anything like that. And so, you know, these pieces don't start growing or something. Okay, so it has been a few weeks and these are pretty dried out. You can just see that they're dry. So what I'll do is take one bulb and then wrap it in paper towel, or you can use newspaper, and we'll just do that. And I'm gonna place it into the bucket. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap all of these and put them in the bucket. Now the one pieces here that still are green, this is still drying out. So this is what I'm thinking, because you can see at the bottom here, it just doesn't look very good. But your best bet will be to just cut this right here and let it dry out the rest of the way. Some of the pieces, like this one, the leaf dried out all the way. I still see some green, however, and that needs to not be there. Otherwise, this can rot if we still have some live piece. It'll get really moist in the inside of it. But this is really hard, so I have a feeling it will dry out. So these pieces I'm just going to leave out to dry even further. But like this, I will go ahead and wrap it. I have everything wrapped up individually, like I said. I'll just put a piece of paper towel over that, and I'm going to store this in a dark space that gets like no moisture, humidity, you know what I mean? Because we don't want this stuff to rot or anything. These I'm going to let them dry out, and then I did save a few to give to my friends. And if, you know, if they don't properly store them, I always have a bunch more that I can give to them. So yeah, that's how you recover your elephant ear bulbs and store them over the winter. And I can't wait to show you guys next spring when I plant them and we have more plants to come.